and greetings, and welcome to the first Forgotten Fields podcast. A brand new podcast that you have to pay attention to. What is this going to be all about? Well, we're excited to tell you that we think it's going to be something that you're interested in if you're interested in farming. Oh, that kind of sets the stage a little bit. Hi, everybody. I'm Robin Reed.
And I'm Tara Williamson.
Tara, good to see you today. And we're very excited to get this podcast underway because it's been a dream of yours, I think, and it's been something that's very much needed. Let's tell the folks where we're coming from. We're in Botetourt County. That's Botetourt, not Botetourt or any other thing you might want to kind of come up with. It's Botetourt. And could you tell folks why this is such a historical county?
Ooh, okay. So back in the day, actually every founding farmer owned property in Botetourt County, and Botetourt County actually extended all the way out to the Mississippi.
That's a big county.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so folks around here know that, but other folks don't know as much, and they also don't know about the rich heritage of, farming. What has it become? It's a bedroom community for Roanoke. Roanoke, Virginia is in southwest Virginia. Botetourt County is in western Virginia. Probably some of the most beautiful places you'd ever want to go to, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're surrounded here by the first or second oldest river in the world. The New River is very, very close to us. You have the James River, and then you also have the second oldest orogeny, technically, the mountains in the world, too.
The river does something weird, too, right? Should we tell them what it does? It flows backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It goes north and up.
Explains a lot of our behavior.
Oh, it is. It is. It's indicative of why we're goofy. So anyway, let's begin with a little bit of introduction so they'll know who is who. Tara, I've known for a short period of time. Our introduction was at a farmer's market in Botetourt County. So, Tara, give them a little bit of a background on what brought you here.
Well, actually, I'm not from here. I'm one of those dreaded transplants with I don't even have a 540 area code, if you can believe it. Tom's been trying to get me to change it for years, but I am, fortunately and unfortunately, from Loudoun County, Virginia, so up in northern Virginia, kind of a suburb of D.C. I met Tom down at Virginia Tech, so I was studying a vast mess of things, and he was an agronomist. And then we had this crazy idea to kind of restart his family farm from scratch, see what we could really do with our bare hands. And it was addictive from there. And here we are.
And you have kind of a slogan about that, don't you? You kind of tie this together. What came first?
I was going to say the chicken or the egg. And there's a lot.
Did the guy come
Of
first?
both. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it all goes back to started with a boy, and it all goes back, so we can kind of blame that in a way. Yeah.
It starts with
All
a
goes
boy,
back to farming.
and then it led to farming.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, you're really a scientist.
Yes.
If you were left to your own devices, you'd be studying rocks, you'd be studying the sky, you'd be studying the water, you'd be studying a lot of things, and yet you didn't walk that far away from that process when you started farming.
Absolutely not. Farming is everything I'm interested in. It is, of course, it's geology, it's soil science, it's biology, it's poetry, it's literature, it's psychology and sociology, animal behavior. It's everything. I mean, it's a complete synthesis and crossover interdisciplinary just subject of anything you could ever think of.
And yet here's the inside secret, folks. Left to her own devices, this lady has the best farm eggs you're ever going to come across in your life. I'm just telling you. You can be a master chef with her eggs.
Well, thank you. The ladies do most of the work, and I just take their riches.
Yeah, they smile a lot. We'll tell folks later down the road how we met them and spent some time with them this past weekend. But nonetheless, so are you where you want to be right now?
I struggle with that all the time. I think with my type of mindset is Tom and I are kind of alchemists in a way that we create things from nothing, just our thoughts in our hands. And so we're always thinking, well, what's next? We've done this. What's next? How can we help the community? What idea can we kind of put in the incubator next? So I am happy where we are, but sometimes it seems like a little bit of an asymptote where that we're never really going to get to our full potential because there's so much potential to tap into. There's so many ideas to help cultivate and realize.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we're going to do this podcast, because everything is moving.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas are changing. Finances are changing. Politics are changing. The weather is changing, which is a nice little segue. Should I tell them who I am and why I'm interested in weather?
Give him a taste.
Okay, we
Yep.
can do that. So, if you're from Loudoun County, you don't know who I am. But if you were, but even though I was raised in Vienna, Virginia, Fairfax County, right? Not
Mm.
540.
Must
You're still
trans.
703?
Mm,
Is that
I
it? Okay,
know.
I got you.
Well, but trivia, that used to actually be the very old ancient area code for here, I was told.
It was. And then you guys got too populated and took all the numbers. So they had to shift our numbers so we could have some numbers. So I'm just saying, Northern Virginia is a different country.
Oh, yes, it is.
So what happened was I went to James Madison University. I thought I was going to be a baseball player. Ended up studying because I couldn't be a student athlete. That's two tasks, and I could fail at one or both of those. So decided to just become a student. Got my degree in communications. Thought I was going to be a sportscaster when I grew up, and ended up tripping into meteorology. So back to school we went and met the wonderful girl of my dreams. And we moved down to Roanoke and had children. And it was going along pretty nicely. And so, folks that are familiar with WDBJ7 television in Roanoke, the CBS affiliate, they got to know me. And they got to know us really well in 1985 because there was a flood in Roanoke that took the Roanoke River from about a foot and a half to something like 25 feet in a half of a day. And they rescued my wife in a boat and my 2-year-old son. And she safely made it through. And she wondered why her meteorologist husband did not warn her that this was going to happen. But he didn't, because he didn't know. So the next 40 years or so were spent in Roanoke, Virginia, doing weather. And strangely enough, Tara, that is kind of why I want to talk to you for many weeks and months and possibly years to come about farming, because when you're a television meteorologist, you assume that your audience are the city folk. You assume that when you say grab an umbrella, they're listening to you, and of course they're not. And as time went on, it slowly dawned on me, because I'm not the brightest, that it was actually the farmers that were paying attention to little things that you said, little hints that you gave. And so now I wish I could redo that meteorology degree. I wish I could redo it because I would have emphasized farming more.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had, that would have been good. It's very easy to criticize people on social media. Weather people were pretty much the easiest target on the planet. Heard all those jokes, by the way, many times. Only guy I know that is wrong all the time and still gets paid. Well, okay, thank you very much. Didn't hear that one today. But the point is, the weather is singularly important when it comes to success and a lot of things, and farming in particular. So, briefly, we can tell our audience that as we sit here in the late summer, early fall of 2024, it hasn't rained for quite a while of any significance. How has that affected your farm?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, you also hit on a point earlier, is that weather is not just essential, it's the be all end all in the farming world. So we kind of just rely on this careful little balance, and there is no rain date. If you have a picnic and you're listening to the news, you don't have a rain date. It's not next week, and it's not, oh, come to the indoor pavilion or whatever. It's just, oh gosh, like, what do we do now? Our hay's on the ground. How do we get it up?
Oh, I'm glad you brought up hay because that reminded me that anytime you're in a closed building with people and they find you and they want to have something to say to you, go into a grocery store, bump into a farmer who's just cut his hay based on the fact that you said it wouldn't rain for the next 3 days while it's raining outside right now, and get the look. That look that'll last forever.
Yes.
Yes.
I cannot imagine what you have had to
Well, I didn't know.
endure.
I didn't know that that was such a thing. I didn't know. I didn't know what hay was. I mowed a lawn in the suburbs. That was as close as I got to hay. But it's an important thing, and I think that you learn with time,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a little fun with it, and you learn to walk away as quickly as possible. Because when they're really mad, they're really mad.
Yes.
Anyway, so growing hay, for example, this year in Botetourt County has been a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of cuts, 3 cuts? No, maybe one or two.
Yeah.
So, how did that affect your farming outlook this year? Did it kind of knock you down a little bit, or do you just keep
It
plowing forward?
it did. We were in a slightly kind of better, I think, predicament than we could have been in for sure. But easily, I mean, it amounts to tens of thousands of dollars in damages when you have a drought of this size. So, and they're normally unseen, and all these risks are, of course, kind of normally unseen in farming. But it causes issues in the actual ecosystem of the farm. So, I mean, you have issues with wildlife, insects, disease breeding around. It kind of goes into your farm construction, your labor, your fence building. Everything gets pushed, delayed. Everything is affected. It's a very large butterfly effect on the farm. And when you throw some weather type of wrench into the plan, everything just becomes catastrophic. So our yields have been reduced. Luckily, we plant summer annuals, so we were a little bit insulated there. So those summer annuals are more heat resistant, drought resistant, of course. They thrive and survive definitely a lot better in these type of climates. Quality, though, in a lot of situations has been reduced, so we're going to see that impact no matter what. So whatever you plant, you're still going to see a little bit of some reduction in nutrition. So we have less product, less quality. It's a double whammy when you have inadequate moisture there. We tried to stagger sweet corn, so you try to do what you can do to just insulate yourself a little bit and be proactive, but most of the time it's going to be reactive. So that's just how it is. But we stagger planted our corn, so about every 2 weeks or so we would plant a new couple rows, hoping, really, really hoping our plan was to have fresh corn, sweet corn, every couple weeks all the way through Thanksgiving. And I even made this beautiful chalk art for the farm stand. And it's just been sitting there with no corn in the fridge at all. But I'm too proud
Best
to
laid
take
plans,
it
right?
down. Yeah, so I mean, nothing ever really goes according to plan.
So one person's bonanza is another person's bad luck.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to a drought, conversely, in terms of crops and things, um, vineyards really like it.
Yes, yes, they do because and oof, I'm not a complete expert on this, but here I am just theorizing that the dryness actually helps concentrate those sugars in the grapes.
Exactly, because the grapevines grow really deep. I mean, deep, many, many, many feet deep. They're sort of not paying attention to rain. When there's moisture, they tend to grow a little too quickly and
Hmm.
then they kind of get soggy. And you mentioned the sugars, so they can't really concentrate. So, one of the things that makes Virginia such a challenge, well, there's many reasons why Virginia is a challenge for viticulture, but what happens is hurricane season comes. And so in September and October, that's when the east coast of the United States gets hit with whatever tropical system there's going to be. And that's the absolute worst time if you're growing grapes. You don't want water at the end because then it just sort of makes everything soggy and it
Dilutes it.
takes all the sugar, dilutes it completely. You still got to cut those grapes out, and so you have a poor overall performance in the wine
Hmm.
a year later because it didn't have enough sugar to really go. So for people that are growing grapes, when a tropical alert goes out for North Carolina, they are cutting as fast as they can. They're harvesting as fast as they can to get it out of it. And as we're having our discussion today, a tropical system is on the North Carolina coast right now. It's left over from a hurricane that was in Louisiana a few days earlier, and they have a chance to get reborn in the North Carolina coastal areas, and then that sends lots of rain into Virginia. So if we end up getting a couple, 4, 5, 6 inches in the next week or two, again, what does that do to your farm?
So it's going to be great for the cracks that have actually started to develop. So you would not believe we actually put a new fence in about 5 months ago, and everything was great, filled in, backfilled with dirt and everything. But now because it's been so dry, we actually have like these little mini Grand Canyons that have opened up vastly, just massive cracks in the ground. You can stick your hand inside of them. And so when the clay gets packed that hard, when it does rain, it actually can't even absorb it. It just runs straight off. So depending on how this rain system goes, it could be good. But for those type of soil conditions, it's going to take a really long time for it to actually soak in and do what it needs to do.
Exactly. The runoff is a real problem because people don't think that. They think, oh, it's raining really hard. It's
Yeah.
fixing everything.
Yes.
No, it's actually complicating it in
Yeah.
some ways. So a nice, slow, steady rain. Tropical rains actually, and you'll like this on the science part, tropical rains are actually a little different from regular rains. When a thunderstorm dumps water on you, it's big, fat droplets, big, heavy, wet rain. Tropical rain is different because it's been whipped by the winds for many, many hundreds of miles as it spins. So when it falls as tiny little droplets. And even if you're looking on the radar, if you're you're savvy to looking at radar on television or, on your phone, the drops don't look that big, and so it doesn't look like it's raining that hard, and yet you look outside and it's pouring. So the little teeny droplets
Hmm.
actually soak in a little bit better before they start to run off. So all these complications, and 10 miles can make the difference between whether it's effective or ineffective. And that's something farmers deal with all the time.
I did not know that.
Yep.
That is actually fascinating.
So if you get 9 inches of rain from those little teeny droplets, it rained really hard for a really long period of time, and that's what you end up getting. So,
It's a giant Mister bottle.
oh, welcome and yet unwelcome, depending on what you were hoping for at that time. I know, as we were talking about grape producers, they're frantically cutting now, hoping to get everything in before this rain starts. So we'll probably have more discussions down the road about this other dilemma that occurs with the perception of farming and weather and what's good and what's bad. And that is your farm, as I sit in our studio today, is just a few miles away.
Hmm.
And your weather is in no way, shape, or form the same as my weather. And if we go about 3 more miles to the west of here, we'll have farmers saying it hasn't rained there for months. Meanwhile, I had plenty of rain for a period of time, and maybe your farm got the exact amount that they needed. And so, what are you going to do when within a few square miles, everybody's got something different going on? It's a challenge.
It is.
Yep.
It is. So how do you accurately predict?
Oh, you don't. You just guess and hope for the best.
So and that is, there's that famous saying of what a farmer has to be an optimist or he wouldn't be a farmer.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, because weather's funny that way. So,
Yes.
yeah, no, we did a lot of guessing, and that's just the way it works. So we're going to talk about that in the weeks to come. What else are you thinking about that we need to delve in sort of a deep dive to let our listeners know what's happening in farming or what's not happening in farming, and what does the future hold?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we were talking about people who want to listen to this podcast. They're interested in farming, but it's even more than that. They're interested in food. And that affects, I'm assuming, every single one of us.
I would hope so.
Yes. So, and if not, we have a bigger secret to tell, right? So that's what we really need to get into is the perception of food, our food industry, nutrition in general. The transparency issues nowadays, the origin. What does food mean? What kind of symbology does it hold, and the meaning for you, significance for your body, community, ecology, everything. So we really want to get into that.
Okay. I guess we also need to get into finances. People that do this, we hear around here all the time that people are selling their farmland, that they feel the urban spread coming their way, and so they sell their farmland and they make some amount of money to do that. But once that happens, it's kind of permanent, isn't it? You don't reclaim that as farmland.
No, and you hit a very, very good point that we're going to delve a lot into with hopefully many episodes on that.
Yes.
Is the change over time of land use and the significance of land use for the future.
That we should also talk about sort of the shifting ways that people view food. You were talking about, we're going to talk about food. When we go to farmers markets, we kind of chuckle sometimes because there's the people that go to the farmers markets to get whatever's in season, and then there's the people that go to farmers markets to get what they thought they wanted to buy that day. And tomatoes in November are probably not going to be on the agenda, but they think they can buy it there, and so I think people are funny about what their expectations are.
It is, and that's just two different paradigms you just mentioned there too. It's living with the land, living with your surroundings. Oh, what's bountiful? How can I thrive with nature is what's available, what makes the most sense. And then, oh no, I'm going to serve myself, serve my own behavior, serve my interests. I'm going to go there for tomatoes out of season.
And to be fair, we were trained this, right?
And it's not, yes, nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It's a misunderstanding too.
If it's on the store shelves, it must always be available.
Exactly. So it's just an education, a learning. God, up in Northern Virginia, I demanded a tomato on January 1st. Why isn't it there? And why isn't it perfectly round?
Exactly.
And I want a shiny little spot and a perfect sticker.
Otherwise, I won't buy it.
Exactly. So it's my perception since moving down here has been radically changed. We'll just say that without embarrassing myself.
No, not at all. And to be honest, with Northern Virginia, they have a different kind of a crop that they focus in on, in addition to grapes. Apples, and more apples and apples.
Land is the crop.
Right.
Land is what we grow, and land is what we sell.
So you can put orchards and many, many things, and away you go. And you can hardly wait to get there for the best of whatever that is in Northern Virginia. Or
You can feel free to edit this part out. Oh, yes. So much to go into with that, but land is the big commodity,
Yeah.
and so we'll definitely go into that with land use. And when you were talking about people going for just tomatoes out of season, up there it's a different mentality of what type of experience can I get too.
there's plenty of signs on the road as you go up Interstate 66, and there's plenty of places to stop, and most of them are basically unaffordable, but it's a treat. And you go up there and you can experience something.
But that tells us what we're lacking too. When you see that old, and I know exactly what we're talking about in 66, it's an old farm truck and it's the you pick apples, right?
Yep.
Yep. And you just veer left. Right, what I've made Tom do many, many times unsafely on the road, right?
Yes.
To go there because you're craving something, and what does that lack? It's that connection back to that simple type life with that nature, that food. They want that picture of them picking the apple so they can post it. And we need to focus on that lack because that lack shows us exactly what we need to be focusing on, our growth that's needed.
Social media.
Social media.
Let's post it right away.
Okay, exactly. But
Well, listen, I know that we've got so much more to do, and we're only just now getting started. So let's continue informing our listeners places that they might be able to find us or to get in touch with us. So I'll start with the email, and then you transition to the web, and then we'll tell them some other things. So if you're looking for us and you want to make a comment, be kind, please. info@forgotten-fields.com. The key to all of the things that we're going to share with you in the coming weeks have to do with Forgotten Fields, which I know you're going to explain. At first, it sounded kind of Forgotten Fields. Oh man, the fields were forgotten. What a sad story. In fact, that's not true at all.
no, it's exciting. It's inviting you to come explore, rediscover, really, those fields. So it's a type of nostalgia, like accessing a memory for the first time again. What was real food? What is farming? What did farming used to look like? What did this area used to look like?
And just to give you guys a warning, her husband's name is Tom. And when we get in a quandary and we need an answer to something, we will call out in many varieties of ways, "Hey, Tom." And depending on what the topic is that day, we may have a little fun with that. But nonetheless, you have a webpage. What is that?
Yes, so it's going to be just forgotten-fields.com. So you can go on there, find all our podcasts listed, ways to contact us.
Okay. And then the important stuff, the social media side of things. I imagine you guys are going to be on the gram.
Yes, yep. So handle will just be forgotten.fields. Same with the Facebook page.
Same with the Facebook page. Keep those comments coming if you like. And then if we wanted to hear this and you wanted to share this with our folks out there, Spotify would be a place to begin with to find the podcast, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we're going to probably try to do a bunch of them early on because we have some backed up info. We were just dying to get out to folks. So you can look for these to drop probably no less than once a week to give you a chance to get caught up with what we're doing. And of course, we welcome comments from you, whether it be by email or find us somewhere around Botetourt County walking around and say, "Hey, where's Tom?" No, don't do that. Don't say where's Tom. But we've got so much to share with them. So we appreciate you guys stopping by for a few minutes today and share any information with your friends about what we're doing. And we'll try to make this a podcast that deals with the kinds of things you're thinking about with your farm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.
Appreciate you guys stopping by for a few minutes today and share any information with your friends about what we're doing. And we'll try to make this a podcast that deals with the kinds of things you're thinking about with your farm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.
appreciate you guys stopping by for a few minutes today and share any information with your friends about what we're doing. And we'll try to make this a podcast that deals with the kinds of things you're thinking about with your farm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.